Hi there. I haven't done a video in quite a while, and I'm going away on a trip, so I thought I would do one. I don't know if I'll be able to do any while I'm traveling in Europe. I'm going to be in France on the wood business, and then in Germany at a language conference, and in Portugal, where I will be giving some lectures, if you want, together with the University of Minho Language Center, talking about language learning, what I say, in the age of the iPad. But I want to talk today about something that I think is very important in language learning, what I think is the key measure of how we're doing when we're learning a language, and the key goal that I always have in learning a language, and that is words. You know, if I'm looking for a Gordian knot measure of how well we know a language, I like the idea that it's the number of words we know. Now, this will usually get all the linguistics people saying, well, what do you mean by knowing a word? You know, and yes, there are degrees of knowing a word. You begin by having a bit of a sense of the meaning, and the more you see the word in different contexts, the better you know it. And you eventually get to know which words are similar and how it's different from other synonyms, and you get better at it. But to me, it's just enough to be able to make sense of a word when you see it in a context. That's enough. You now know the word. And the more words you know, the more you can read, the more you can make sense of things that you are reading and listening to. Even if your understanding of that word is a little imprecise, it doesn't really matter, because you're then able to kind of guess at the broader meaning of more and more content. And as you can expose yourself to more and more content, you learn more words, because the more words you know, the more you can infer the meaning of the other words. The more words you pick up incidentally, the more you learn about the culture of the language, hopefully, the more you are exposed to the different patterns of the language, so that really it's the more words you have, the more words you can learn, the more you can learn about the language. And so at Link, one of our major measuring sticks is how many words you know. Now, people get all excited about, well, I don't really know them, and I don't want to give myself credit for knowing them. And to my mind, none of that matters. It's just a measurement that shows that you are progressing in the language. And in my own case with Russian, I certainly haven't flashcarded all the words that I have saved at Link, but I now can read most of what I understand most of what's there. There aren't that many words that I don't know. So the number of words you know, that to me is the Gordian knot. And you can test it with a closed test, let's say with a very high pass-fail, so that you could test people to see how many words they know. Typically, if these words have been acquired, what I call honestly, through a lot of listening and reading, not crammed from some word list, then it implies that the person has put themselves through a process of a lot of input, reading and listening. And if you have been heavily oriented towards reading and listening, but you have been building up your vocabulary, when you have a chance to speak, you'll very quickly improve in your speaking. Obviously, if you have a chance to speak earlier, so much the better. But if for a long time, as is the case with my Russian, it's mostly input, I'm quite confident that as I have more opportunity to speak, I will improve my speaking, but I will have lots of words, and slowly I will convert these passive words into active words, because I'll be involved in speaking with someone and they're using words which I understand, and I'm looking for vocabulary which I know I have somewhere but I can't yet use. And so each of these engagements, so to speak, engagements with the enemy, language confrontations, challenges me, reminds me of what's missing, and helps me to go into my treasure trove of passive words and gradually convert them to active. So to me, the big thing, what I strive for, the milestones in my language learning, my number one task is to accumulate words. Yeah, some people say, well, it's always best to take the first 100 and the next 100, and certainly it is easier to deal with content that has fewer new words, and I will come across a word that I need only to get through a particular article, and I know I won't remember that word because I won't see it again for 6 months, and that's fine too. And when I see it again 6 months later, I'll look it up again, and it'll take a longer time to click in. But again, I think we can learn these words, again, largely through a lot of input and initially dealing with simpler content in order to increase the frequency of these more basic words that you have to learn. But there you have it. I just thought I'd mention that. I just think it comes up all the time. It's crucial to our program at Link. It's the #1 goal. If you do that, everything else will fall into place. You will get used to the grammatical structures. You will develop the ability to speak. Not to say that you needn't occasionally review the grammar. Of course you do. And that's not to say that you needn't go out and speak when you have an opportunity. Of course you should. But if you have the words, that gives you the strongest possible foundation in order to become better and more accurate in your use of the language, in other words, in the grammar, and also to become a more proficient speaker. So in learning languages, focus on words. That's at least my take on it. Thank you for listening.